to Evil's Comics. This guy right here is Evil Mike, or Mike if you prefer, and I got a review for you today. But first, please like, comment, subscribe on this guy's channel. I am trying to hit that 1K sweet spot. Hit the bell if you want to stay notified. I don't have a schedule on my reviews. I drop them when I can. So if you want to be notified when I do drop a review, hit the bell, you know. Alright, so our review for today is Knights vs. Samurai #1 by from Image Comics, written by, and I'm going to mispronounce probably most of these, they're complicated names, but David Dastmalchian. The art is done by Fede Mele. The color is Ulises Arreola, and letters Andworld design, and it has a Japanese translator, Thersa Matsuura. I do apologize if I did mispronounce those names. No disrespect. I know I did. So Knights versus Samurais, right? We're basically starting out with this kind of opening scene where it's these two brothers. They're on a ship. They're, as you can see, they're fighting this like massive, like, I thought it was like a sea serpent, but they're calling it a dragon. It does have wings, but it just looks like a snake kind of thing. But the two brothers are out here, they're fighting it. Eventually, you know, kind of both of them, they end up taking it down. Boasting as they do. We do find out that the younger brother is Charles and the older brother is Bennett. And as soon as they take this thing down, you can see at the very bottom of the page, we get the cliffhanger, and the older brother ends up getting stabbed by it looks like the tail of the dragon as it's, you know, falling to its death in the ocean kind of thing, or drowning to, I don't know what you call it when. So we move on, and it basically it jumps forward to like the next day. The ship has made it back to their kingdom. I'm gonna call it that because I don't know in this book if we actually get a name on where they're located. Again, this is supposed to be fantasy. It's not, you know. Okay, so we wake up, and Charles is waking up. He's being summoned. He's being kind of ridiculed because he's the last one to wake up. How can he lead an army if he's the last one? So we find out he's like that they were princes. They weren't just brothers, and now he's like the son of a duke. You know, and the father just lost the other son, kind of thing. There's on this next page. There's a little talk about, like, you know, what's custom for him to come, and that kind of thing is what's expected of him as he's going to take the position from his father, that kind of thing. They move along, and it's kind of like a banquet hall type of situation. They're celebrating because this was one of the last dragons in existence. They're calling it the last dragon, but there are some other people that are like, well, there could be more. We're not 100% positive. Charles gets the name Dragon Butcher. They start calling him that because he did defeat the dragon. The death of his brother is kind of like backpedaled big time. It's not really like discussed as far as with the Duke or this celebration or whatever. We do meet Charles's betrothed. It's this girl named Emma. And you can kind of see her in the background for a second, but the banquet is eventually interrupted by a man named Baggy. We find out it's this guy on the ground over here, you know. But that's kind of when we get involved in our main story. We find out that the Duke of this kingdom had sent out ships to like faraway lands, trying to find, you know, resources, new routes, and other dragons, maybe, you know, trying to make sure that they were the last kind of thing. And this guy comes from, like, he's the last of that group that went out, and they were ambushed and everybody died, and this guy made it back, but he's very badly injured. So they end up taking care of Baggy. They whisk him away. We jump over to Charles, and Charles is kind of like, oh man, I don't know what this is going to mean. Does this mean I'm going to have to go on this trip kind of thing? And we shortly find out that that's going to be the case. You know, that's what this book is about, is he's about to go to these foreign lands and find out what happened kind of thing. It's expressed when Baggy was coming in that they were killed by demons and stuff like that, like foreign demons. So we do have a scene with Emma and Charles, and they're both kind of discussing because, like, he just got his, like, knighthood, you know, because his brother died, and then he killed the dragon kind of thing. The two things coincided together, and so he was about to inherit, like, a lot of land and this and that, like, accompanied with his knighthood, and that's kind of what him and his bride are talking about now. he's going to have to go on this trip, which is scheduled to be at least a couple months, but it's kind of hinted it's going to take a lot longer, but that's what he's telling Emma, kind of thing. There's discussion of like the certain individuals grabbing individuals to go on this trip with the Duke. It's not just like him by himself or whatever. They're gonna get a whole slew of characters. And I just kind of like passed over that page, but we jump back over, and it's basically the last night with him and Emma. It's kind of same of the more stuff, you know. Hey, I'll be back. I'll write you as much as I can. You know, I'll try and make it back as fast as I can. You know, that kind of stuff. So we go to the day of the journey of them departing for this foreign land. It's been announced that, you know, that the individual did recruit all the people that need to go on this quest, kind of thing. And we see a couple of them briefly in the beginning. We meet like the captain, and I want to say his like Charles is first lieutenant, and he's most of the guys. He's the one that's present in these scenes. We do get our farewell where everybody's like, all right, bye, you know, and we see Emma all sad, of course. You know, she just got her lover back and he's leaving again. There's this moment where there needs to be this speech, and where Charles is, you know, kind of presenting his leadership over the crew, and we get a good look of all this ship-shaping crew that they got here or whatever, and we hear a speech, and there's like a big ongoing joke that his speech wasn't that good. Honestly, it was okay, you know, I mean, it's not the worst of speeches, but I mean, this was just spurned on the dude. It's not like he had been thinking about this forever. So we meet a couple other of his main, like, compadres that are gonna be, but Mundrick is this big individual you see. We also have this like this French guy. I don't know if we get a name on him, but he's the one that's kind of ridiculing Charles for his speech, kind of thing. We do see that there is another foreigner. It's basically like a group of foreigners that are in this, and they don't go into detail why or what these individual foreign people are good at or why they're recruited for this quest, but they're here, you know, kind of thing. Eventually, we find out that Baggy, he's not so big on one of the foreigners, you know, and that's kind of like a present thing that happens, like, first and foremost, and then later on it gets bigger as it goes. But even before they get too far into the journey, we see that a huge sea monster appears. It's like a massive tentacle, and it's basically, you know, fight or flee kind of thing. They end up fighting it, trying to kill it. At first they're like, go for the eye, but they find out this thing has like a ton of eyes. Eventually the new compadre we met, Mundrake, eventually just takes a massive spear and you know, kind of like, as you can see here in the dope spread, but just kind of, you know, kills or hurts the octopus really bad. But as you can see in the like kind of top right corner, or maybe it's left for your perspective, but they use a little magic when they coated that spear, so it wasn't just like a big massive spear that killed this thing. They used some magic. So during this attack from the giant octopus sea monster thing, this ship was kind of cracked in half. It didn't crack the whole way, so they have to stop at some, like, they basically need shore to fix the ship, and they do that. It's assumed that it's going to be like a 2-week thing added on to their journey. It turns out to be 3, but they do get it done, and they pick up on the journey again. As soon as they get started, I want to say it's like a couple more days, and that's when they hit this foreign land that they've been looking for, and they go land ho. Charles and most of the main crew get armored up, as you can see at the bottom, and they head in for the land. And you can see in one panel that they're not making good progress. Like right off the bat, it seems like our person Mandrake stepped into like a trap and ends up injuring his foot. At the very last panel of the page, at the very bottom here, is just a group of samurai, like, you know, ready to go ham on these individuals that just, you know, walked up on their land, kind of thing. And that's where the book ends off at. We do get a cover image to the next issue from Knights vs. Samurai number 2. It's dated October 2024. And that's basically it. So my thoughts on this book, honestly, I'm gonna admit on this book, like, there's things I like about this book, there's things that I don't. I didn't mention this during the review, but there's a level of like religion that's involved, and they don't call it Christianity; they call it Christendom. But then the demons on the foreland are supposed to be like, you know, Asian or Japanese descent, that kind of thing. Honestly, that part of the story reminds me of like they added like a couple dragons and some magic, and and we're getting a retelling of you know, Western Europe invading Japan, you know. And I'm not a big fan of that in stories. Like, we have history, like you're gonna add a couple things and now it's a new story, and I didn't win on that thing. There's another weird thing in the book too. There's like a secret hidden message. I am not good at these things, but this book, it's obvious that it's there. There's specifically highlighted words in each of the panels. If you go back and look at the, you know, maybe pause the screen, you can see some, and if you leave, you know, those highlighted words, they don't print out the best of messages. Something about like destroying Christian lords, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. But you know, overall, the I can get behind a story that, like, if they had took out the real world things, I would have been on board. But then they started adding, like, you know, like real world stuff into this, and it was like, okay, is this just gonna be somebody's like mind trip the whole journey, where they're just imagining this? And this goes either way, right? Because the foreign, you know, the culture that was getting invaded saw them the same way. These are demons. Hey, they're demons. You know, it's not a pretty picture kind of thing. As far as like the whole, it's just kind of weird that they threw in like the dragons and the magic and the, honestly, this would have been better if just a straight history piece, a retelling of that thing, because that's what it is. They just threw in a couple pieces of, I will like to say, I don't normally comment on the letters. It's because you know, when letters do their job, it's well presented, it's easy to read kind of thing. The only time I usually do comment on lettering is when it's kind of bad. And I know this one was translated. I don't know the reason why, but there is a translator on the book, so I have to assume it was a translated piece. But there's a lot of mistakes in the book, like spacing errors and misspellings and stuff like that. So I don't know if that's a part of the translation or just bad editing. I don't know what's going on. I want to give this, like, if I had to rate it, which I don't really do comics, but if I had to, it'd be like a 4 out of 10 maybe. It wasn't bad, it wasn't horrible. I had things I don't like, but as far as the main story and stuff, it was pretty you know, it was pretty easy. For me, it's the lack of mystery and stuff. It's I kind of expected something else from this book, and when I read it, I mean, I didn't know what it was, just all I knew was the title. I'm kind of ranting, but I'm still trying to like come up with my mind if I even like this book. Now, I chose it to review. The reason being, it's kind of divisive in my head. Like, I've spent I read it earlier during the day, and now I'm doing the review. And even as I'm doing the review, there are parts that I like, and then there's a lot of it I don't like. So take it as you will. But I highly recommend, don't take my, you know, my opinions on the book, the things that I saw in it, because I might just be seeing stuff. Who knows? These are my opinions kind of thing. As far as the art, the story, and that kind of stuff, it wasn't bad. You know, that kind of stuff. It's straightforward. I can get behind that. The art was decent. There's better panels than other, I will say that. It felt like a fresh artist. It didn't feel like an established artist. But these are my thoughts, guys. This is my review. Let me know down below. I know this was a big talked about book. It's another reason I did the review. And for a lot of reasons. I know Todd McFarlane did a cover. I'll pop it here. But there was a lot of reasons that this book got a lot of hype. So I was kind of hyped behind it. And after reading it, I was a little disappointed kind of thing. But these are my thoughts, guys. Let me know down below what you thought about this. If the same wavelength maybe, or maybe you love this. Let me know down below. But guys, that's my review. Thanks for watching. Please comment, like, hitting that, you know, sub button all helps. Alright, guys. Bye.